All right, everyone. Well, hello and welcome to the call. You know, I was just saying a little bit ago, it's fun to jump on this call on. It's Friday night up here in North Dakota. It's a beautiful evening. You know, most people are sitting outside. They're having barbecues and getting ready to have a bonfire and just enjoying the beautiful weather. And I know down in Australia it's kind of wintertime, but your winters, I guess they do get cold because you've got that moisture from the ocean right there. But you know, it's it's great to just see that people are getting involved and you're all here and sharing some time and learning how to build your business, because that's really what this call is all about, is helping people build their business and teaching them maybe some new skills that they they probably had, because network marketing really isn't all that difficult. Most of the skills that we need, we learned in kindergarten. It's just a matter of show and tell. It's a matter of just sharing a couple ideas with people and watching, seeing how they react, and if they react positively toward what you said, then you can add some things to it. If they act negative, if they give you kind of a negative response, you can always back off and just decide that maybe it's not the right time. And sometimes it's not the right time, and that's I think the main skill that I think everybody should learn, is that learn how to read people, learn how to build that rapport, and wouldn't you say the same thing, Katie? Wouldn't you say that building the rapport is probably the most difficult skill that you need in this industry?
Yeah, I think building rapport obviously is essential with someone, so they feel they can relate to you and they feel they have something in common with you. But I also like to think of it, rather than thinking of being a salesperson and just jumping right in, is to really think of yourself as a consultant, and a problem solver, and asking questions to find out what somebody's pain point is. So I've been using a script lately that I actually borrowed from a well-known network marketing coach, which is Big Al. He uses a lot of different, scripts. And one of the ones he suggested was, you could, in a conversation with someone, once you start talking with them, find out if there's two things they want to improve about their health, two or three things they want to improve about their health. And so most likely there is, either they're going to have something they want to improve about their health, or, they'll have someone in their family they're worried about who's not really well. And so, then you could lead on and continue on and say, if there was a way to improve, say the person said, oh, well, my daughter suffers from problems with, really, she's fatigued and she's got energy problems. She also suffers from anxiety, and then so after you've sort of heard and been listening, you could say, if there was a way to improve, your daughter's anxiety and energy levels, is that something you'd be interested in? And so then obviously they would probably say yes. And so then you start asking more questions. So it's really about being that consultant, and ask questions like, what have you tried so far to help your daughter with that? And how did that go? And, what didn't work and what did work about that? So after you've had a bit of a conversation, what you're really trying to do is find out what are their needs, what is the most important thing to them in life. And this same sort of dialogue would also apply with a business opportunity as well. Somebody could be complaining they just don't have enough money. So you could also follow the same sort of script. And then obviously when you've been listening to the person for a little bit and they've been sharing with you, you could say, well, if I could show you something that could help with your daughter's energy or anxiety levels, or I could help with, earning some extra income, would you be willing to take a look at it? So that sort of script works really well. I've found it to be very successful. So I just think that it's really start thinking that you're not really into being a salesperson, and being salesy is really a problem solver and a consultant. And I know that's something you do quite a bit, Kurt.
Yeah. Katie, you're exactly dead on. Being a consultant with people, and people ask me all the time, they say, Kurt, what do you do? And that's exactly what I say. I say I'm an anti-aging professional. I'm an anti-aging consultant. And it kind of gets that strange look, you know? And they look
Yeah.
at you like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're an anti-aging consultant? It's kind of fun, isn't it, when you tell people that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I use something similar as well. So if somebody asks me, what do I do? I'll say, and this is something really important. So they suggest that, you have your story ready, that you can tell a bit about, yourself and also what you do. So, and this is where it kind of takes a bit of work. You obviously, Kurt, have a lot of practice. You probably get asked a lot more than the average person. But, if somebody wants to spend a bit of time working on their script, so you could say something like, I work in the health and wellness industry, which means I recommend anti-aging stem cell products that help people feel and look 20 years younger. That's something I've been using recently, and I find that works really well. I then follow on and say, it's recently, that science has recently been on the news. Have you seen it? Because we've had a lot of coverage on the news here in Australia on this particular topic, and that really seems to prick up people's ears, and they're really interested. If they start asking more questions, then that's a really good opportunity to say, if I gave you some information, if I gave it to you, would you take a look at it or would you listen to it? So, not having to tell too much, enough that if they respond positively, they're going to ask for more information, then you can give them a tool, but not to kind of, I guess, people say like kind of vomit over someone and get everything out. You don't really need to, say too much, because then you can turn people off, but it's really just sharing enough that to find out if they're going to be interested or not, because you can really tell by their reaction. Wouldn't you agree, Kurt?
Yeah, I think that's true. You really got to, and it's not just being face to face either. I think a lot of people think that, oh, you got to be face to face to get their reaction. Really, if you're listening to me right now, or if you're listening to Katie, in your mind, can't you picture kind of the facial expression that we're using? Can you tell that I'm talking with my hands right now, even though I'm sitting in my room, in my office, just with me and my dog? I'm still talking with my hands as if he knows what I'm saying when I talk with my hands, right? I mean, dogs do learn that, don't they, Katie? But we learn how to talk with our hands, and you can tell that when you're talking to people over the phone. Katie, one of the things that I learned in my clinic was that when I'm sitting and doing a consultation with somebody, and you come in and you say, oh man, I got these headaches, and I got to find an answer for these headaches. I got to find out what to do about them. Sometimes it's actually another health problem that's going to get people to really do something about it. And what I mean by that is that, so if I'm consulting with Katie and she says she has headaches, and then I ask her the question, but besides headaches, do you have any other problems? And she tells me, oh, she's tired all the time. She tells me, oh, she's got this, oh, she's got that. I don't, and then you ask her some questions. Now, like you're doing, like Katie said, you start asking questions, and you say, how does that make you feel? The other day,
absolutely.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, so you're 40 years old, and you've just told me that you feel like you're 60. So you tell me, how are you going to feel when you're 65? I mean, if you already feel like you're 60 now and you're 40, what are you going to feel like when you're 65?
I mean, they'd respond and say that's a big worry, obviously.
Yeah. And so the key is, in my clinic, I used to call it finding the motivating factor, finding the motivating factor. And if you can find somebody's motivating factor, then you can help them do what they need to do. But if you can't find their motivating factor, I'll tell you what, Katie, they're not going to follow through. No matter what, they're not going to follow through, because you're not going to get the commitment. You're not going to get the level of commitment that you need.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's really, and like what we were talking about the other day, Kurt, you said once somebody shares that with you, you can get them to elaborate on it more, so you can really bring that out to find out even more details, so that that's reaffirming in their mind that they really must take immediate action to address that.
Yeah. Katie, I always like to talk stories a little bit, you know, because facts tell and stories sell. But, you know, have I ever told you the story of I was working so much in my clinic? Yeah, I was busy. I got to be one of the top chiropractors in America. But, you know, I never got to watch my kids grow up. My kids went through their first 12 years of their lives, and I never really got to participate. And as a father, I look back at it now, and it really makes me feel sad. I missed out on a lot on a lot of their life because I was working all the time. And people say, well, yeah, but you were working for, you know, for yourself. You could have taken time off. Well, not really. Not really. When you're a doctor or some kind of professional, I mean, that's one thing that you do is you don't take any time off. But Katie, you know what the motivating factor would have been for me? If you were trying to prospect me right now, you know what the motivating factor would be?
Spending time with your kids.
Exactly, right? And so if you ask me that question, you know, like what tell me a little bit about it, elaborate on it a little bit more, and eventually you'd get me to tell you that back when my middle boy, who's now in his fourth year of medical school, when he was 10 years old, so 16 years ago, he got to sing a solo at Disney World, and I never got to go.
Now, it's really sad.
It really is, and I can feel the pain right down in my heart, right down in my chest every time I think about it. And if somebody would have said to me, if I could go back in time 18 years and I could go back and I could change that, that would be the one thing in my life that I guess I would change. I wouldn't change anything else, but that would be one thing that I would change, is that I'd find a way that I could spend more time with my family, with my kids.
Mm. And that's what you're doing right now, isn't it, Kurt? So you're getting to spend a lot more time with your family. Obviously, your boys have grown up, but now you've got more time to spend with your mum and dad and with your boys as well.
Oh, it was so fun this week, Katie. All three of my boys were out here at the house. My buddy Billy was here. He's still here. He'll be here till Sunday, and you know, it's fun. And it makes you really realize that the most important thing in life is time.
Hmm.
It really is.
Yeah. Well, you know, Kurt, I was also going to mention that since we've been talking and we've been engaging with someone and asking those questions and finding the pain points and opening that person up to wanting to explore some solutions for themselves, whatever that problem is or that challenge is. One of the next steps, you know, is obviously using a tool, but I just wanted to give a shout out to you being the tool in terms of your online booking system that you've got now. So for those of you listening to the call and who are in Kurt's team, Sisel World teams, Kurt has a website, siselworld.com, and if you go to that website, on the left-hand side there's a Talk with Doc option. And so what Kurt's kindly done is made himself available through an online booking system, so you can check what time slots he's available. So if you've got somebody that you've been talking to and you found that they've got a pain point or they need to talk further about a health challenge, then it's a really great opportunity to use Kurt's services, and he's really kindly doing this for free, which is extremely giving and generous of himself. And so you can go online and even ask the person to go online and make an appointment booking. And then what Kurt does is get in touch with the person, and found that to be extremely successful, very valuable, and yeah, it's just a great tool. So I just want to thank you really to Kurt for doing that. It's just made a massive difference to so many people, and will continue to do so, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I love doing it. You know, it's such a nice feature being able to have the calendar, because before that it was random calls. I'd get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, and my phone would wake me up, and sometimes I'd answer it, sometimes I didn't. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. But now by having the calendar, people can go on there and they can set up an appointment, and I know that, hey, so and so is calling at this time or that time, and I don't have to guess about it. So I love it. Yeah.
And how are you doing that, Kurt? So just for our listeners and the people in the Sisel World team, if somebody makes an appointment online, and they're obviously in Australia, so are you using the Zoom? Do you send them an instruction and then they dial into Zoom? How are you working that?
Yeah, that's the easiest way for me because it just works nice. It kind of links up with my computer. But yeah, if you go to zoom.us, zoom.us, and use the same meeting ID that we do on tonight's call, 967-394-3165. If you use the same meeting code that you did to get on this call tonight, that's the best way, because then we have a good open line. Nobody's going to drop the call. If you're in Australia, if you're in Canada, if you're anywhere in the world, it's free access. You don't have to pay long distance or toll charges, so it works out really good that way. Yeah. So
does that mean they can also dial in using the number, the O2 number, and then enter the PIN? So if they've got an appointment booking with you, say it's at like 10 a.m. on Tuesday, does that mean that they can then dial in on the number, the O2 number for Australia, and then enter the PIN, and then they'll hear you on the line at the appointment time?
Exactly.
Okay, great. Yeah. So anyway, for those of you listening, there's some instructions, and so it's just a fantastic tool, and we're really lucky to have it because, there's really no one else in Sisel who's providing this sort of service, and it really comes back to being that problem solver and helping people with their needs and what's important to them. So I just think it's just fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and Katie, thanks for helping me get that all set up. I really appreciate it. And then, my youngest son, he's helped me put the website together. So if you go to the siselworldteam.com website and you say, well, this doesn't look quite done yet, it's a work in progress. We're building it as we go. We come up with new ideas. We add it. We're putting a blog together right now, and we're going to put all the newsletters in there. And every week, I hope that you're taking a look at your newsletter. We try and do kind of a wrap up, wouldn't you say, Katie? We do a wrap up of the entire week into one location.
Absolutely. And so if there's anything important happening in corporate or any new announcements that's really that you need to know, they'll be in the newsletter. Kurt will cover them. So it's a great tool. And if you don't read one week, that's fine. The next one's there. So keep your subscription going with that. It's really important.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that you can call your new downline and you could say, hey, I know you joined on Tuesday. We send out a newsletter every Monday. I guess it would be, in Tuesday afternoon in Australia, you'd say we send out a newsletter every Tuesday morning. But you could say to your new person, you could say, let me send you a copy of the latest newsletter, and you can forward your newsletter to them, and then they can see what we're talking about. They can have a link to the latest Sisel Doctors Clinic call. They can have a link to this call. They can have a copy of the recording right there in their hands, and it's all right there. It's all right in their hands. And then, like Rennie and I were talking about earlier, the other thing is that if they want to know something about the compensation plan, they've got a link to the siselworldteam.com website. And the nice thing there is that if you click on the compensation plan page, it's got the video right there of me going through the compensation plan, explaining how do you make $300 a month, how do you make $500 a month, how do you make $1,000 a month, and it's right there. You don't have to go flopping around through millions of different places to find out. And then it's got the link to just a ton of different things. And we're going to add more and more and more to that website so that it's going to be your tool to build your business.
That's great. Thank you, Kurt. I wanted to just mention something too, and this was a tip I got from Eric Worre the other day. He was talking about, he obviously does a lot of research about what's working in the industry and any changes with technology that actually impacts us in the network marketing industry. And I'm just going to read something that he shared, and I just thought it was really valuable, and it's just a great tip. So he said that recently the whole world decided that we're done with talking on the phone and that no one answers the phone anymore. He said he's called his daughter before and she won't answer, but she'll immediately text back. So texting has become the preferred method of communication in the world. You could get you could call 100 people and maybe 20 would answer. However, if you text 10 people, you're likely to get 8 responses. This is one of the biggest breakthroughs in network marketing today. It really can be scary to make those phone calls, but it's relatively stress-free to send someone a text. So instead of calling your prospects, send them a simple text asking if they'd like to meet up next week or catch up to discuss your new project you're working on. You'll get more appointments set up when you text your prospects rather than trying to call them. So I just thought that was an excellent tip. What did you think of that, Kurt?
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent tip.
Yeah.
Eric Worre's got a lot of great stuff. You know, and as we're talking about Eric Worre, I'm looking at the time here and I'm thinking, you know, Katie, one of the things that you and I were talking about with is how to build your team, get them started on the right foot. And part of getting people started on the right foot is really right from day one. If Katie got me started today, it would be so invaluable for her to say to me, Kurt, okay, so let's spend a few minutes right now, and I'm going to show you a few things that you can do that will help guarantee that in the future you're going to have a successful business rather than one that just kind of flip-flops around. And I ask people, I'll just ask them now, I'll say, do you want to be in the bottom 10% of network marketing? You want to be in the bottom 10% of the people who get started, or do you want to be in the top 10%? And you know, it's kind of a goofy question, and people, of course, are going to give you a kind of a goofy look because they're going to say, well, I want to be in the top 10%. And they might be like Katie's friend Tuan, who's going to say, not only do they want to be in the top 10%, they want to be in the top 200 of network marketers ever. And Tuan, when you told me that the other day, I thought to myself, now there is a guy who's going to be successful, right? Because not only did he say he was going to do it, but he made some commitments to me on it that I know he's going to do it. And you've got a lot going for you there. And Katie, I see a lot going for your friend Tuan.
Fantastic. Yeah. Excellent.
So Katie, I'm going to move on and bring Rennie on. And Rennie,
okay, great.
Rennie, you're one person that you've got you've got some really good ways of presenting how to get started in a right manner, how to get people positioned so that they have a successful business. And just, you know, one of the things that you and I were talking about this afternoon earlier was is that when you get started, you don't want to just kind of say, well, I'm in network marketing, I got started with this. You really want to be able to position yourself and say, here's what I did. And so, Rennie, tell us a little bit about what you did and what you recommend for people to do as well when they get started.
Well, hello everyone, and again, thank you for the invite. I love these calls. This is a great team to be part of, and it's just it really aids in everybody's success. It's we've all got the same opportunity here, definitely equal opportunity. I love network marketing, the industry. So the big thing, the first thing that comes to mind is the time freedom it gives me. And, you can have that right from the get-go. It doesn't have to be once you get to a certain income level or a certain level in the compensation plan, because a lot of it is mindset. We set ourselves up. Network marketing itself, it's an accredited course at many colleges and universities. It's an amazing industry, and it gives us many opportunities. The big thing for me, and I think I try to certainly, I think because I feel this, I just exude it. I treat this like a business. It would be, why would I not? So when I've been involved, and one of the things that got my attention was the changeover that Sisel was making at the time when I was looking at the age pill and Sisel ripped, was the new compensation plan, and the pathway into the business is now with the wealth builder. That's what it is. If you're either a preferred customer or you're doing the business. If you're doing the business, you're a wealth builder. It's really, really simple. And I've always been involved with companies that have a buy-in or a business pack to be purchased if you are going to be a business person. And it shows, the credibility. Somebody's making a commitment. The last business, well, I'm still involved in it actually. I paid $11,000 for my starter kit.
Holy cow.
Well, I mean, I always have been with businesses, and it's basically because then, it separates the boys from the men. You're making a commitment, it certainly tells me that a person is committed, that they want to do this. And I mean, to me, it's just like you get to work, you come out of the gates with your head down and you're running. You want to build some structure so that you are having an income from the business to pay for your product. Again, to me, that just makes sense. So that's how I like to start people that come in and join me, whether they've come from a background in network marketing, how involved they ever were, how long they've been in. Network marketing there's a huge opportunity for personal growth in this industry. That's just fabulous. I mean, we have people like Jim Rohn, we have people like Eric Ward. Those are two of the people of my favorites. And so there's great opportunity here to take this wherever one really wants to. And I think that's important to know. I think I don't sell products. And again, that's my belief. I look at as network marketing as being a relationship business, a relationship building business. And it really helps to develop one's listening skills. When you're talking to somebody, whether it be products, that's how I usually get into conversation with somebody. It's whether it be, I post on Facebook a lot of interesting articles, and people will like them, and then I will contact that person and thank them for liking my recent post, and then engage from there. Mm-hmm. And you can soon tell whether the person is interested in a business. Our business is one of our greatest products. It's right up there with Fucoidan and the age pill. It really is. And so embrace it. Treat it like a business, and have that passion about it, and people will pick that up. When you're having conversation with them. I think that we have an initial startup fee with the Wealth Builder. It's only $315 US. What is that when that allows you to build beyond $1 million business? So I just don't, if anybody was to say, well, that's a lot of money. If somebody is committed, they will find that money and they will move forward. They won't let that stop them. And the bottom line is that's 100% tax write-off. You need write-offs in this business. That's all there is to it. And we've touched on that in previous calls, how, and I think there's a lot of things that people don't realize they can write off. Everybody needs to have a home-based business. Otherwise, you're just paying way too many taxes. So as far as that initial startup cost with the Wealth Builder, to me, it's insignificant. Again, it's the same as, we talk about, and you referenced your call that we did a while ago where you use the figure of $300. If everybody, you had the numbers there, so people can go back and have a look at that as a template if they need to have that visual to see where they can get this to in a very short time. But I think having an auto ship is just, it's part of doing the business. You're responsible, you're doing the business. That's all there is to it. But again, we were talking about how to get your products free. Well, the fact that you're doing the business, you're getting your products free. because they're, again, a write-off at the end of the year. So I know that, again, the entry position as far as being a wealth builder, or when you're first coming in, the requirement is only 50 PV a month. That it would cost me more in postage being in Canada to bring in something that was as little as 50 PV. I mean, I just make it worthwhile. Some other things we can certainly do is leveraging. For example, the best value for all of us when it comes to the age pill is the 6-pack. So it's like, why would you buy anything else? So, I mean, that's what I'm looking at buying this month. So that's 300 PV. But the other thing is it's setting you up. What happens if you only put in 50 PV in volume? You have somebody that takes off, and then, oh my gosh, you've moved rank and you don't qualify for pay because you've put in too little of a qualifying order. I mean, gosh, who wants to end up doing that? So I'm like you, Kurt, where I know how little I can get by on, but I'm always looking ahead, like, okay, I can get to 1 star. I need 200 PV. Okay, I got my butt covered, because I've got beyond that in my monthly qualification order. So I think things like that, again, it's just part of being the business. You're on task. You know what's happening. It's, again, we've all already touched on an earlier call about putting your product order in as early as you can in the month. Again, because then those numbers are changing daily. Stuff is happening. You're buying, new customers are coming on board. And those numbers reflect that once you put your personal order in. So I think some of those things, again, just treating it like a business is so important. But,
yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think one thing that we got to touch on is that, you're talking about the 50 PV, people can, you could build a business with 50 PV. You can do it. But, I guess my thought is that, I don't know, are you positioning yourself properly if you do that? Are you saying to yourself that, oh, I'm just doing the minimum, I'm a minimizer, and the thing about it is that the way I look at it, like Rennie said, here she's going to order a 6-pack of the age pill. That's her auto ship. And she sets it up in the beginning of the month. And the reason that she sets it up in the beginning of the month, everyone, is think about this. Now you get to see where your rank is, because if your order isn't placed until the 21st, it's always going to tell you that you haven't qualified. So you can't see where you are. And so if you teach people to do their auto ship in the beginning of the month, what will happen is by the 15th of the month, you can see where your stats are, and you can compare it month to month to month. And now it gives you the last half of the month to build, right? The first half of the month to qualify, the last half of the month to build. The first half of the month to qualify, the last half of the month to build. And if you can do that, you can really get it so that you, in your brain, right, and you get your whole team thinking the same thing. All of a sudden, you've got everybody working on the same page, right? And I think that's really, really important. But like Rennie is saying, if you position yourself right away, you say, okay, the reason that Sisel came out with the Wealth Builder Pack, and I know there's some people who think that the Wealth Builder Pack, oh, what a great product pack. Okay, yeah, it is. It's a great product pack for the value. I mean, you look at the product, it's a great product pack. But that's not why it was developed. It was developed as a business pack because for those of us that, all of you that are on this call, obviously you're not just customers, you're not just glorified customers. You're here because you're building a business. And the thing about it is that if you're a business builder, it takes the same amount of work to go out and build this business. It takes the same amount of work to go out and talk to 10 people, right? And so why not get paid for all your work? And if you're not a wealth builder, you're leaving the door open. You're leaving money on the table that's going to roll back to someone else. I mean, and I don't mind, Rennie, I don't mind if you let money roll back to me. Katie, you can let your check roll back to me. I don't care. I'll spend it. I'll buy another car and I'll put your name on it or something.
Yeah, I'm not going to let it roll back to you.
Well, and I know when we were talking earlier, Kurt, about when people were, talking to people, and we've had some questions about people feel they have to learn the compensation plan before they can talk to anybody. Well, remember, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So let's take that a bit. When somebody asks you about the compensation plan, are they really wanting you to go into all that detail, or are they just simply asking you, what's the name of your compensation plan? And I know I have this when people come to me and I will say, well, what's your compensation plan? And most people don't know. Every compensation plan has a name. And for me, if somebody says, well, it's stair-step breakaway, it's force matrix, it's unilevel, it's, a binary, I know immediately how it pays out. So the answer to that question is simply, our compensation plan is a unilevel with coded bonuses. That's probably going to answer their question. And if they're going to want more than that, then you will want to send them that video. But so again, it's just like, do you need to know all the products before you get going? No. But the thing is, like you say, absolutely to get going, and going slow. It's like, to me, you're either doing this business or you're a preferred customer. There's no in between here. I don't know anybody that says, well, I don't want to get paid, so, maybe I'll do it slow or whatever. Like then it is going to cost you. Turn that around in your head and be creating, because that's what we get to do. We create our income in this business, and have your products paid for by your commissions right out from the first month.
That's right. Get it paid right away. And Randy, wouldn't you agree that if somebody would have talked to you right away in the beginning and said, hey, here's what you got to do, and they would have spent, in the beginning of your network marketing career, they would have said, here's what you need to know, and spent 5, 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever it took, and set you up for success right away in the beginning. But I go back and I look at, when I first got started in network marketing, really 31 years ago, and when I got started in network marketing 31 years ago, the guy sold me a box of Amway products. He said, I'll get a hold of you next week and I'll explain how to do the business. And do you know, 31 years later, he still hasn't contacted me? He didn't even return my calls. I tried calling him and several times, and I'm like, okay, so there's an industry I don't want to get involved with.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And really it takes so little time, because we have tools, each one of us, like we don't all have the same strong points, but that's why we're a team, that we've got each other to leverage off of. And just really keeping it simple is so important. There's some basic steps to get somebody out, and it's really team building. If somebody says, well, I don't have a clue what to do, for example, even looking at the unilevel compensation plan is a very, very simple breakdown. It's like a roadmap. I don't know how it can get any simpler about, okay, here you are here. I mean, let's face it, when the day we enroll, we're the only one on our team. Yeah. So, and then where's the next step? Don't worry about over here when there's, you've got 10 legs. Just worry about keep looking in front of you and what's in front of you. But it is very, very simple. And you don't have to feel that you need to know everything about the products or everything about the compensation plan before you get started, and can be
getting started in life Oh, what's that?
Yeah. Oh, I hit the wrong key. I've got the there.
You're playing me in the
I
background.
am. Yeah. I just can't get it. I can't get enough of you.
Well, I think that's a good place to say it's a wrap for tonight. Is there any last final points that you can think of that you want to just kind of hammer through on tonight's call, Randy? Anything that you'd like to add just to kind of close your part of the call out?
Well, it's just this is a great. I mean, this company is incredible with the products and everything we've got. And if anybody has any questions and want to get started and just really don't know where to begin, gosh, give somebody on the call that is on the call, like Kurt or Katie, myself, some basic points, but treat it like a business. That's all there is to it. We have this pathway, this beautiful pathway into the business. To me, I don't bring a distributor into the business unless they are serious and purchasing the Wealth Builder Pack. That's all there is to it. Somebody says to me, well, I might want to build a business down the road. Okay, then we'll have that conversation down the road. In the meantime, enjoy the products.
Yeah, it's a good way of saying that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that tip. And Katie, how about yourself? What do you got for the final? Yeah, I mean your viewpoint, your final viewpoint tonight, tomorrow.
Sure. Thanks, Kurt. I guess that if people don't know what to say, use the tools. Let the tools do the heavy lifting. Kurt's got some great videos on explaining the compensation plan. You don't need to understand all the details. Just a few basic, comments regarding the compensation plan. Then say if you'd like to know more, take a look at the video. Kurt's done a great job explaining it. And that way you don't have to be the expert,
Mm-hmm.
So I just think use the tools where possible. And we've just got some great videos. So yeah, check out siselworldteam.com. And I've got some videos too on Siselers Connect as well, which is the YouTube channel.
Well, and then you put together the website too, the siseldoctorclinic.com. And for anybody that wants to if they just want to address health issues, that's a great website because you don't have any of the other stuff there. It's just product related.
Yeah, just Kurt's product calls. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, so that's a great tool too. Well, Katie, thanks for taking time out tomorrow morning to talk to us. And
thank you.
I always like saying that. It's like I get to talk into the future. And Randy, thanks for spending some time with us on your Friday night up in Canada. I really appreciate that. And for all of you that are with us tonight and tomorrow morning, wherever you happen to be, thanks for being here. It's this is going to be a big business. You're on the right track. You're getting involved, and that's the thing. And now what you do is you get a couple other people, and don't just invite. Promote. Learn the difference between inviting and promoting. And we're working on a couple things between Katie and Rennie and Andrea and I and Trevor and Marilyn. We're putting together some really, really good information that you'll be able to use on going out there and how to promote rather than just invite. And there is a big difference. There's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, Katie, I'll let you close out the call.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully you can join us again next week, or if you're listening to the recording, tune in again next week, and have a great weekend. And we'll hear you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.